The good people of France clamor around the bulletin board upon learning about the news of a vampire killing. Some dismiss the news as bogus, while others fear that the vampires have returned to exact vengeance on humankind. Amelia finds herself out of balance, but just as she's about to hit the ground, the kind No speeds through the crowd and catches her in time. Amelia and No get to talking when all of a sudden, No's ears perk up upon the announcement of the grand airship's arrival. Amelia asks No if he's planning to go sightseeing in Paris. No answers Amelia by telling her that he's going to Paris in search of the legendary book of Vanitas that contains power to annihilate vampire kind. Amelia squirms in fear after hearing about the accursed book. Once the two make it to Paris, Amelia begins to tremble out of cold. Suddenly, a man appears and leaps to strike Amelia. No immediately comes to Amelia's rescue and learns that she's a vampire. After attacking the mysterious man, No makes an attempt to flee the scene with Amelia. The man, on the other hand, smirks after learning that No is also a vampire. Meanwhile, Amelia's condition graduates to worse. Soon her demeanor changes. Amelia lunges to suck No's blood, rendering him paralyzed. The same man resurfaces, this time to save No from getting killed. He reveals that Amelia's life has been corrupted, which has turned her into a blood-sucking monster. The man tells No that he's not here to kill Amelia, but to treat her as a doctor. He pulls out a book that No instantly recognizes as the infamous grimoire. The boy with the blue eyes enters inside Amelia's mind with light that helps her overcome the darkness of the malady. No witnesses the power of the boy and decides to follow him when he falls out of the window. After landing, No tells the boy with sparkling eyes that he was amazing. The human boy then introduces himself as Vanitas and reveals to No that his master gave him the name and the book of Vanitas. No finds himself behind bars, and it's all thanks to the cheeky Vanitas, who tells the authorities that he and No are partners in crime. No sighs and pats his pockets only to realize that his wallet is missing. Vanitas informs him that the authorities confiscated their belongings along with the grimoire. No freaks out upon hearing that, which makes Vanitas question his intentions regarding the book. No tells him that it was his sensei that told him to assess the nature of the book. He then wonders what his teacher meant by that. Vanitas backs No against the wall and tells him that he doesn't understand why he keeps refusing his company when he can just join him and observe the book. After careful speculation of the past events, No happily tells Vanitas that it's because he doesn't like him, but perhaps he should join him for the sake of research. After getting out of the cell, Vanitas takes No to visit Lord of Altus, Parks Orlok, a vampire appointed by the Queen to maintain peace between humans and vampires. Orlok calls Vanitas a sham, which leads to a verbal fight between Orlok and Vanitas. Orlok argues that a book can't save a vampire who has been cursed and must be beheaded. Upon hearing this, No is reminded of his friend that fell prey to the curse. He steps up and says to Orlok that Vanitas will prove the validity of the book to him. The two find the cursed vampire Thomas with the help of Vanitas' friend Dante. They immediately paralyze him. As they're about to take him to Orlok, two vampires by the name of Luca and Jean appear from the dark alley. They politely ask Vanitas to hand over the book. When Vanitas refuses, Luca angrily tells him that he'll be punished for using the book that corrupts vampires. Vanitas blankly tells Luca that he's a doctor. However, his words fall deaf on Luca's ears, who commands Jean to take the book. Jean opens her casket to reveal the Crimson Gauntlet. Vanitas grabs No and tells him to run, as standing in front of them is Lord Ruffin's Bourreau, who slayed her own kind in the war. No pushes Vanitas by saying that he can't have him die on him. As Jean manages to injure No, Luca tells Jean to knock it off as she's no longer a Bourreau. Vanitas introduces himself to Jean by telling her that the infamous vampire of the Blue Moon, the creator of the Book of Vanitas, was his master. No comes out with Luca in his hand, which results in Jean's surrender. The feeble look on her face compels Vanitas to kiss her passionately. Jean finds herself powerless. Luca frees himself and is about to teach Vanitas a lesson when Jean takes him and flees, but not before promising to see Vanitas again for revenge. Vanitas, on the other hand, happily tells Jean that he'll be waiting. As Orlok's servants who had been present on the scene relay everything to him, Orlok grants Amelia's freedom, but tells Vanitas to remain in his sight. Later, Vanitas asks Amelia if she saw Charlatan. He then explains that every curse-bearer saw fog and the parade of Charlatan before getting consumed. Amelia apologizes for her weak memory. Orlok gets No to lend a hand, as he belongs from the clan of archivists that can read one's memories after consuming their blood. As No sinks his fangs, he sees the dark entity corrupting Amelia. After reading her memories, No and the rest are greeted by Dominique, No's childhood friend. She puts a leash on No and tells everyone that she'll be borrowing him. The two open the door to a portal linking the human world with Altus, the world of vampires. Vanitas comes running and jumps with the two vampires. During a ball in Altus, Dominique seizes her chance and takes Vanitas in her custody. She asks him ruthlessly about his intentions towards No. She questions Vanitas if he's an assassin for the Blue Moon vampire, a blind follower who, like his master, hates the vampire kind. Vanitas easily frees himself and gives Dominique an amused chuckle. He jumps on the chandelier and announces loudly that he's Vanitas, a human that bears the mark of the Blue Moon vampire. Vanitas pays no heed to his enraged audience and shows them the Book of Vanitas. Vanitas tells them that they're fortunate to have him, as with the grimoire's power, he'll save their kind as an act of vengeance against his master, Vanitas of the Blue Moon. The noble vampire of Altus, Veronica, appears and blows the chandelier with magic, causing it to fall. When Veronica finds no sight of Vanitas, she tells the vampires to hunt for the human. Meanwhile, Luca and No realize that the person that saved Vanitas was none other than Jean. A cacophony is heard throughout the halls. Suddenly, curse bearers appear out of hiding. On the terrace, Jean struggles to breathe. Vanitas immediately realizes that she craves blood, indicating that Jean too has fallen to Charlatan's curse. He offers his blood. After a moment of hesitation, Jean finds herself tipsy on Vanitas' blood. Charlatan greets No and says that he recognizes him through a child called Louis. No travels back in time when his teacher first introduced him to Dominique and her brother, Louis. They instantly became friends, and No finds him telling his new friends about how he was raised by humans until his teacher bought him and brought him to Altus. As No grows up, he realizes the sadness and despair that lurks inside Louis. One day, when Dominique informs No and Louise about the execution of their friend Mina, the news rattles No, but Louis tells them that there's nothing they can do as Mina is a curse bearer. No ignores Louis and rushes to save his friend. However, when they meet Mina, she transforms into a blood-crazed monster. As Mina leaps to harm No and Dominique, Louis appears on sight and beheads Mina. In the moment, Louis finds himself transforming too. No pushes Dominique to safety. He makes a desperate attempt to shake his friend out of the grasp of whatever that possessed him. Through a trembling voice, Louis begs No to end his suffering. Before No could process anything, his teacher appears and beheads his dear friend. The painful memories of his childhood resurfaces, which leaves No vulnerable. Charlatan pounces on the opportunity of possessing No at his weakest point. As the darkness brings itself closer to No, Vanitas appears right on time. Vanitas immediately saves No from getting caught in Charlatan's web. Jean appears and takes care of the rest. In a daze, No falls into Dominique's embrace. She tells No to snap out of it as the curse bearers are all scattered around the place. The same deafening voice rings through the halls. As curse bearers enter through the door, Vanitas tells everyone that the ringing sound is a trigger for those suffering from the curse. Dominique asks if he can save the vampire kind, as he boldly declared. Vanitas states that he'll do his best. As No and Vanitas make their way, they come across a girl ridden with the curse. Vanitas tells No that it's too late for her. The girl begs to be killed, which triggers the memories of Louis in No's head. Suddenly, Veronica finds the two and strikes Vanitas with her ice magic. Lord Ruthven comes by her side to stop her from killing Vanitas. After waking up from a dream where he sees his teacher, No finds Vanitas and states that he doesn't like him, but he'll stay with him and follow him around to understand him. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing to the channel and stay tuned for more quality uploads.